Welcome to Pet Pals. I'm Dee Dee and this is Randy, and we are here at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center on Rosemont Avenue. And as we do every week, we're going to introduce you to 10 of our resident animals who are looking for new homes. And our first guest is Smokey, and Smokey is about 5 years old. He's a neutered male kitty who came to us from a family who got him secondhand already, but they said he was pretty determined to go outside, and they didn't feel that they lived in a place where they would be comfortable with that.
He's determined.
And it is a little bit, he's very masculine, muscular looking. So Randy was just saying how strong he is. So they did not want to keep him because they felt like they couldn't keep him safe. And there's kind of a complication in Frederick County in that cat owners are required to keep their cats on their property. And that can be a real challenge if you have a cat that's determined to go outside. One thing you can do is you can teach them to wear a harness, and you can take them outside just like you would a dog. You can also build an enclosure off of a window, like a little screened-in porch. You can buy one too. But they're fairly easy to put together with screen and 2x4s. You can find plans online. They're called catios, catchy phrase, so you can find the plans. Or there's a website called catfencin.com. And in the back of Cat Fancy magazine, they always sell the plans. So if that's something that interests you, you could make him happy. Also, there are ways to make the indoor environment so interesting that he might not be so determined to go out. And that involves things like cat trees, and I don't know if you've ever seen the little shelving that people install in walls and houses so cats can walk up the wall and across the ceiling. Kind of looks like a plate rail. And some people have even at the top of their wall where you would put wallpaper trim, cut a hole through the wall onto another shelf so that the cat can walk up the wall in one room, go through a hole, and walk down the wall in another room. Pretty extreme, but pretty fun for the cats.
You got that exploring nature in you, don't you? That's why you want to go outside.
We are back with Rocky, and Rocky is also about 5 or 6 years old, and he came to us secondhand as well. His owners are moving, so they weren't able to take him along. And one of the things that often people say when they tell us that they're moving is it's really more complicated than that. Either they've lost their home or job and are moving to an apartment to downsize for financial reasons, maybe even moving in with family, maybe even taking a job out of state. Because if you are planning to move and you have pets, there are many, many ways you can keep your pets. One of the ways is advanced planning, obviously. Make sure your pet is up to date with shots, and you get a health certificate from your vet that you can show potential landlords. Make sure that you save up some money for the security deposit. It's kind of a forced savings, because if you have a good pet and you're a diligent pet owner, then you know you're going to get that security deposit returned to you at the end of your lease. But it gives your landlord the comfort in knowing that should your pet ruin something, or should they have to go to some expense when you move out to clean up, repaint, or repair carpets, they would have the ability to do so from your security deposit. The other thing you might want to do is to get a reference from your current landlord. It is an easy thing to ask for while you're living someplace. In some cases, the landlord will even tell you, just write it and I'll sign it. And what you want to say is that your pet didn't do any damage to the property, that you didn't cause any complaints of other tenants because of noise or activities of your pet. And that will help assure potential landlords that you're responsible and your pet's not going to be a problem. I have had the experience of having to do that, and because I've always had a dog and I always like to live in a house with a yard, and people who rent houses sometimes are reluctant to rent to people that have dogs. So by having those references in order, I've always been able to convince landlords, and even had one landlord tell me that he now prefers to rent to people who have pets. So it's a good thing you can do for pet owners all around, is to get landlords who in the past have been reluctant to allow pets to see that it's really a great thing. People who have pets are more likely to want a yard, to take care of their yard, to want a fence. One of the things you can also offer your landlord is, would he let you make small repairs and then deduct that off your rent, and that way you could even put in a fence, baby gates, things like that. So it is definitely possible to rent with pets, and it just takes a little bit of pre-planning to make sure that when you move, you're going to be able to keep your pets. And this guy has experience, litter box trained. We're going to microchip him. He's already been neutered. So I think he's going to make a really great pet for someone. And because he's 5 or 6 years old, you're not going to have to deal with the kitten stage, you know, climbing curtains and stuff like that. We are back with Milo, and Milo and Minnie, who you'll meet in a moment, are cats that showed up at a farm. They are probably sisters. We don't know for sure, but they were hanging out at the farm until the owners decided that they should think of a future for them. And one of the things that people often tell us if they have a farm is that cats show up in their barn that just weren't there yesterday. So does that mean that someone drove by and dropped some cats out of their car and left them there, or is it that cats are able to find barns all over the county by themselves? And I really don't know the answer to that. In my case, every year or two, cats do show up at my barn, and most of the time they are cats just like Milo and Minnie, where they're young and they're not spayed or neutered, and they're very friendly. So I assume that these cats are able to, you know, travel the county and find a barn and try to start their new life. But once I had a spayed female cat show up with a collar on, so that's more likely, and we did try to find her owner, that's more likely to, you know, have had some human help, obviously. So we also don't know how cats end up so far away from home when you do find their owner. We had a cat this winter who was an elderly cat who disappeared from his home, and a couple months later was found in the Walmart parking lot. Mm-hmm. We had another little cat who was a calico declawed who jumped off of her deck where she spent many hours in her maturity, lounging in the sun, jumped off the deck and was found 10 miles from home 3 months later, having spent the entire winter, as far as her owners can tell, on her own. Her name was Iverson. You might have seen Ivy on our Facebook page. So we really don't know a lot about how these kitty cats end up where they are, but for Milo and Minnie, they wound up at a nice place where somebody was, first of all, noticed them, and second of all, looking out for them, and third of all, when they weren't able to find their owner, brought them here so that they can get a home of their own. And certainly you can adopt them both if you would like to. Adopting two sisters often works out very well. They'll stay friendly for life, but they are not attached to each other in some way that they need to go together. So as you can see, I mean, you can't see that she's purring or hear it probably, but as you can see, she's making biscuits, she's purring, she's rubbing on Randy's hands. This is a really friendly cat. So she definitely knows people and wants to be with them. If you think she would make a nice addition to your home or to the home of someone you know, then pass her information around so they can find out about her. This is Milo's sister, Minnie. She looks very similar and acts very similar, very friendly and sweet, and also showed up at the same farm, obviously. And one of the things that is important to do when you're choosing a cat for your family is to picture just what Randy's doing, how you want to spend time with your cat. If you picture yourself, you know, dangling a toy and having that cat be active and playful, then you're going to want a kitty like Smokey, who is confident and outgoing and engages that way. If you want to sit by the fire and maybe not this time of year, but if you want to read a book, enjoy some quiet time, then you're going to want a kitty like Minnie or Milo, a cat that enjoys being on people and being handled by people. You also have to consider, if you want a child's pet, that you choose a cat that has an affinity for kids. And you can find that out by coming to the shelter and having us help you out, taking the cats out of their cage and holding them and interacting with them. That's not 100% guarantee, so we like to give you our input with our color coding system, because one of the things that can happen is we have a lovely tortoiseshell cat here, Pearl, that you have seen on the show before, but she was adopted by a family who was interested in having her be a family pet. And when she got to their house, she hid behind the washer and dryer for a couple of days. So they weren't able to get her to not be afraid of them. And so they brought her back, which we totally understand, because her behavior here in the shelter, in her cage, is rubbing on people, outgoing, approachable. So you can't always tell for sure what the transition personality will be like. So Pearl is affectionate to people and she's going to be friendly, but when she is moved to a new place, she can be very overwhelmed by that, and it does make her hide. One of the things you can find out by watching the show is when we take cats out of their cage, put them in a carrier, bring them into here, a room they've never been in, with a person they might have never met. Randy's met a lot of the animals, but you can see somewhat of the behavior they offer when they're in a new place with new people. And that can help you to choose what kind of pet's going to make a good match for the people in your own family. So if you think Milo and or Minnie would make a good match for you or someone that you know, then let us know, pass their information around, and help us get the word out.
Hey, peekaboo.
Kitty, kitty. Psst, 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 psst.
What are you doing? Get over here so let me see your face.
Our last feline guest is Smiles. And Smiles is a beautiful brown tabby kitten. He's only about 10 months old. And I'm not sure if you can make it out on your screen, but he has little black tufts at the tip of his ears, which make him look a little bit wild. He is a beautiful cat and very affectionate. He has big feet. I suspect he's going to be a substantial sized cat when he is full grown. And we have color coded him blue. And just so you know, Milo and Minnie were also color coded blue. And our other two kitties, Smokey and Rocky, were orange, which is middle of the road. So we've had an awful lot of friendly cats for you to meet today. And so on Tuesday, we took a cat to the radio show, and that was Ben, who you did not meet today. Ben and Penny are some beautiful brown tabbies, much like Smiles, that are here also color-coded blue, and they are looking for homes as well. The reason I bring them up is because Ben ate about 20 treats while we were at the radio show. And Ben has been on an outing where he just gobbled up treats. So Randy decided today that he would bring treats onto the set, because cats usually don't want them. And of course, that's exactly what happened. Cats usually don't want them. So this kitty is no exception to that rule. They want to, you know, feel safe. And in the case of the blue kitties, they want contact with people and head scratches and all of that good shared grooming. He is, this kitty, Smiles, is young enough that his mellow personality is pretty indicative of what he's going to be like as a grown-up, because he is a teenager and this is as wild as he's going to get. So what a nice cat. So thanks for joining us on this segment of Pet Pals. We're going to take a short break. We're going to come right back with a bunch of cute, beautiful, wonderful dogs, and we'll see you then.
The Frederick Board of County Commissioners announces a new service for county residents and those interested in watching live broadcasts and archived videos of county meetings and special programs. In addition to watching county meetings online from a personal computer, viewers may now tune in from the convenience of an iPhone, iPad, or other mobile device, including some Android smartphones. We're taking government to a higher level of technology in offering this new service, and we look forward to hearing good feedback from our citizens. Simply visit www.frederickcountymd.gov/FCG-TV and click on the link that says Watch FCG-TV Live.
Welcome back. Our first canine guest today is Shelby number 1. We have 2 Shelbys and 3 buddies in the shelter, and that is pretty common because we don't change the names of the pets that come in already named. And dogs don't care if you change their name. They don't mind a bit, and they learn a new name very quickly. Sometimes it's a good idea to change their name because their name might be sad for them. We don't know. But when they come into the shelter, we keep their name the same in case they're used to it. And then that way, when you adopt, you can change it if you would like to. Now, the way to change a dog's name is, let's say you wanted to call her Maggie. You would call her Maggie Shelby for a week, and pretty soon you would notice whenever you say Maggie, she knows you're about to say Shelby and she pays attention. Then you can drop the Shelby. So Shelby is obviously a beautiful Weimaraner. She came to us secondhand. Someone in the family is allergic to her, and so they gave her up. She is 5 years old, and she is a spayed female. And one of the things that they told us is that, are you okay, honey? She got a treat caught in her throat, is that they crate trained her as a puppy, and she really doesn't like the crate. So there are 2 ways that you could handle that. Number 1 is, since she has good house manners, you may not need a crate, but I would recommend considering re-crate training her, because dogs in the course of their lives will have to go to the vet sometimes and stay in a cage. They might have to, if you ever had a bad storm and went to a shelter, you might have to, she knows what's in Randy's pocket. You might have to take her to a hotel overnight for a bad storm, and she would have to stay in a crate. So I think it's a really good idea to teach all dogs that crates are okay, even if you're not going to use it long term. And the way that you would do it is you would feed her in there for a couple of days with the door open, and then you would put her in there for short 3 to 5 minute periods, 5 times a day for no reason, until the crate does not signify that you're leaving. The reason that dogs don't like the crate is very obvious. It's small and closed and they want to get out. But the secondary reason that they get an emotional rejection of the crate is that people put them in the crate only when they're going to bed or leaving. And so dogs learn very quickly that the crate means separation from you. And that is the one thing that dogs don't want, especially the sporting breeds. These gun dogs are bred to be with a hunter all day, to do his bidding all day, to jump in icy cold water, to bring back dead ducks, to walk through tall grass, all of that for you. So they do suffer when they're away from you. Because they were meant to be a partner. I don't know if you can tell on the video, but Shelby could stand to lose about 10 or 12 pounds. It would make her feel better, probably true for me too, but that's something that you can help her with so that she can have that advantage. She's not having any health problems from her weight. Dogs don't get cholesterol plaques like people do. So it's not a big urgent problem, but just be a nice thing that you could do for her. You can see how much she likes food, so she definitely enjoys it, and that's probably part of how she got this way, because she's a cute girl and she's a good convincer. Our next guest is also named Shelby, and Shelby is a Beagle Terrier mix, and she originally came to us as a stray. We were able to find out who her owner was, and thus the name Shelby, but they don't want her back, and sometimes that does happen. I mean, if dogs run loose, or if somebody gives their dog to someone else who loses the dog, and then we find that person, sometimes they're not in a position to take them back. So Shelby is a talker. That's the Beagle in her, and she likes people very much, and she's the perfect size, a happy little tail wagger. And when we first got her, we thought she was about 7 years old, but because we found out who her owner was, they said they think she's closer to 10. So she's got a lot of energy for 10, as you can see, and she has a lot to say. So if you have been looking for a little dog that really, really likes people, then please come by and talk to Shelby, because she's certainly going to talk to you. When she first came, she was a little reluctant about having the leash on. So she's learning how to do that, and learning very quickly, I might add. Our next guest is Buddy number 1. You will meet Buddy number 2 in just a moment. Buddy, we were told, is Boxer German Shepherd, which he does look like. He's only about 4 months old, and the woman who brought him in only had him for 4 days. She got him from someone who was giving him away, and the person who gave her to him did not have the mom and the whole litter. He just had this puppy. So she said that she was just not thinking. So this guy says, I have a puppy I need a home for. She said, great, I might really like a puppy. She works full time, she lives in an apartment. And she said, you know, after 4 days, she realized that was kind of a crazy idea, that she would work 8 hours a day, plus an hour each way commute, and be able to entertain this growing boy. She didn't have a crate for him, so she was leaving him loose in the house while she was at work for 8 hours. And I don't know if many of you can imagine what that would be like, but during the course of 8 hours, a puppy like this is going to do several things. Number 1, go to the bathroom, and number 2, play with stuff. So he would definitely need a little bit more supervision than that, and she realized it. He just was so cute. When she saw the guy who had him, she thought maybe it would be a good idea to take him home. She said he was lovely with her kids, but he does jump on people, and because he's so young, he really does want to have lots of fun, and I think is going to make somebody a really great pet. It's actually been good for him to come to the shelter for about a week, because when he first arrived, he was a little bit shy, hasn't met that many people, hasn't seen that many things, and it only took about 48 hours for him to really come out of his shell, be brave, approaches everyone now, and is interested in other dogs, is interested in going new places. So I think he's going to be a really great dog. Potentially, because he's 4 or 5 months old, he's going to be really big, like maybe that big. So if you have an apartment or homeowners association that has a limit on the size of a dog, then you want to make sure not to commit to a dog that could be 60 or 70 pounds. It's possible that he would get bigger than that, but if he is Shepherd Boxer, Boxers tend to keep them a little bit short and compact. But of course, we can never predict how big a puppy's going to be, although we do try. He offers a lot of nice behaviors, like sitting when he's greeting people. So everything great about a puppy is inside of him. You just need to be able to get it out now while he's still small, because when he's big, you want him to already listen to you. Our next canine guest is Buddy number 2. And Buddy number 2 is a poodle mix, probably mixed with Chihuahua. And he is very, very cute. He is the type of dog that lots of people say that they want, but I will tell you the reason that he was given up to us is because the family that had him said it was financially hard to take care of him, and I'll tell you why. It's not because he has specific health problems. It's because you can learn to groom your dog yourself. It's not very hard. I've done it. He won't look fancy right away. I mean, you have to get some experience under your belt before you can make him look really fancy. But if you don't want to do that, then you need to brush him a lot, and that takes time. And if you don't want to do that, then you do need to take him to the groomer, and he should probably go every other month. And you can, if you want, get his hair cut short like a puppy. But you know, that's gonna cost between 50 and $100. And one of the things about taking him to the groomer is groomers wisely require that he be up to date on his shots. So that means that you also need to make sure you don't skimp on his veterinary care. And that has a price associated with it, getting him some shots every year. And for groomers who require Bordetella, sometimes that has to be given every 6 months. And it isn't expensive to get the shot, but it does require you taking time to go call the vet, arrange it, get the shot, and take the receipt to your groomer so he can go. So there is some cost associated with having a long-haired dog, and you need to consider that when you get one. He also is now 9 years old. So probably sometime in the near future, he didn't want me to tell you that, I don't think. Sometime in the near future, he'll probably need to have his teeth cleaned, and there's some expense associated with that. But all of these things are normal parts of having a dog. And if you talk to your veterinarian about your financial needs, the way you want to manage your budget, most veterinarians are happy to have a good client that takes good care of his or her dog, and they're going to work with you. So if you think buddy number 2 is going to make a good pet for you or someone that you know, then come and meet him or send those people our way. Our last canine guest is Mercedes. And Mercedes is an 8 to 10 month old pug Pomeranian mix. She's from a farm in Jefferson. And I was very excited to meet her because I know her sister, her real sister. Her sister has a squished in pug face, but is just about the same size and same type of coat, same color. And that dog lives with a little 9-year-old boy in Pennsylvania. And she is a wonderful little dog, very, very smart. And so I am assuming that Mercedes, since she has the same family background, is going to be just as great. I also know the uncle of this dog, who lives on a horse farm, or goes to a horse farm off Thurston Road, lives with his owner off-site, but the owner boards her horse there, and he goes on trail rides with the owner and her horse. So these little dogs are very popular in Frederick. We have met several of them here in the animal shelter, and they always seem to be very good with people and kids, and smart. The reason the people that gave her up to us did not want her was that she's not house trained yet. And at 8 months old, living outside on a farm, she may not know the rules of don't go to the bathroom in the house. So it will not be hard to house train her, and what that will require, you've all heard me talk about it before, is keeping her on a leash in the house for 3 days and putting her in a crate when you are not able to hold on to that leash, like when you're sleeping, eating dinner, or something like that. She should also be in the crate 5 times a day for no reason, because as we talked about earlier with Shelby number 1, you don't want her to think the crate is a bad thing. It has to just be a random happening. So thank you for joining us on Pet Pals. I hope that we have shown you an array of animals that we have at the shelter, and encouraged you that if you're looking for a family pet, you should check out the shelter first. We don't always have what you want, and certainly there are purpose-bred dogs in the county, Catoctin Kennel Club and various breeders, as well as cats. We know you don't have to come to the shelter for your pet, and we appreciate everyone who's willing to come here and at least see if we have what you want. And for those of you who are not looking for pets, who can help us get the word out about the ones that we have, we appreciate that too. So thanks for joining us on another episode of Pet Pals, and we will see you next time.